I get it, you're staring at a wall of thermal scopes on Amazon, and the thought of dropping a few $100s on the wrong one makes your stomach tighten. You've probably spent a few evenings watching YouTube demos, scrolling through spec sheets, and maybe even reading a handful of reviews that sound more like marketing copy than honest feedback. All you really want to know is whether the ATN Thor 6 Mini will actually give you an edge out in the field, or if it's just another pricey gadget that sits unused in a drawer. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What makes the Thor 6 Mini different from a lot of the bulkier thermal rigs on the market is the combination of a 6th generation 40512 sensor and a surprisingly lightweight magnesium alloy chassis that weighs under 5 ounces. That sensor claims an 18 mK NETD, which, in plain English, means the image you see will show temperature differences that are barely perceptible to the naked eye. In practice, that translates to being able to pick out a coyote moving through a field of dry grass at the same temperature as the surrounding terrain, something that older 640,480 units sometimes missed. The 12 pixel pitch adds a bit more definition, letting you see the shape of a hog's ear or the outline of a deer's antlers when you're a few hundred yards out. If you're the type of hunter who spends mornings in low-light conditions, hunting on overcast days, or tracking game that's become skittish after a few early shots, the Thor 6 Mini's Full HD OLED display does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. The 0.49-inch screen shows a crisp 19201080 image, and because it's an OLED panel, blacks are truly black, which helps the thermal image pop. When you pair that with ATN's SharpIR AI, the scope applies real-time sharpening that boosts contrast right as you look at it, making a silhouette stand out more clearly against a background of mixed foliage. In a real-world scenario, I imagined a hunter sitting in a blind at dawn, the forest still shrouded in mist. With the AI-enhanced view, a small heat signature that would normally blend into the fog becomes a distinct, giving you the confidence to take a shot without second-guessing. One of the more practical strengths that often gets lost in the hype is the suite of built-in tools. The picture-in-picture mode lets you keep an eye on a secondary hotspot while you're aiming at your primary target, which can be handy when you're hunting a group of hogs that tend to scatter. The hot point tracking feature automatically locks onto a moving heat source and keeps it centered as it moves across the field of view. Think about a scenario where a coyote darts from cover to cover. The tracker keeps the reticle on it, reducing the need for manual adjustments. The reticle system lets you toggle between MIL.DOT and BDC, bullet drop compensation, patterns, which is useful if you're shooting at varying distances and want a quick visual cue for holdovers. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs. The Thor 6 Mini's magnification ranges from 2 to 16, which is generous for a scope that's small, but the higher end of that range can feel a bit cramped on the tiny OLED screen. When you push up to 16, the field of view narrows enough that you'll need to be deliberate about scanning, rather than gliding your eye across a wide area. For most hunters who stay within the 300-yard sweet spot, the 28 range feels more natural, and the 16 setting is more of a novelty than a daily workhorse. Battery life is another hidden factor. The unit runs off a single rechargeable lithium-ion pack, and ATN advertises roughly 68 hours of continuous use at lower magnifications. In my mental test, a day of stalking elk at dawn, moving to a midday sit, then tracking a late afternoon hog would likely eat through the charge by the time you're ready to head back. The good news is the scope charges via a standard USB-C cable, so you can top it up with a power bank while you're on the trail, but you still need to plan for that extra weight and space in your pack. Who should consider buying this thing? If you hunt in varied terrain where you'll encounter both small predators and larger big game, and you need a thermal scope that won't weigh you down, the Thor 6 Mini hits a sweet spot. It's also a solid option for shooters who already have a day-night rifle and want a thermal add-on that won't require a whole new platform. The built-in AI, tracking, and reticle options give you tools that can shorten the learning curve for someone new to thermals, while still offering enough depth for seasoned hunters who like to tweak their settings on the fly. Who might want to skip it? If you're a pure long-range shooter who spends most of your time at 500-plus yards, the limited field of view at high magnifications and the relatively modest battery endurance could become frustrating. Likewise, if you're hunting from a vehicle and need